Hello, and thank you to everyone for joining this event. My name is Gabrielle Elbrock, and I'm a recruiter with our University Relations team at Thermo Fisher Scientific, and I will be moderating today's event. We are very excited to have you all here with us to discuss how our LatinX colleagues have navigated their career development with Thermo Fisher Scientific and how Thermo Fisher Scientific has provided a platform of diversity and inclusion to champion community and allyship. So who is Thermo Fisher Scientific? At our core, our purpose is to enable our customers to fulfill their scientific purpose to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. And we do this by being the world leader in serving science, following our 4 I values of integrity, innovation, intensity, and involvement. With integrity, we work by honoring commitments, communicating openly, and demonstrating the highest ethical standards. With innovation, we harness innovation by creating value and transforming knowledge and ideas into differentiated products and services for our customers. We also have a distinctive intensity and are determined to deliver results with speed, excellence, and passion. And then we nurture involvement by our employees working together as one global team, embracing unique perspectives to enhance our culture of diversity and inclusion and leveraging each other's unique strengths. Whether our customers are accelerating life sciences research, solving complex analytical challenges, improving patient diagnostics and therapies, we are here to support them all the way. Our global team consists of more than 90,000 colleagues, delivering an unrivaled combination of innovative technologies, purchasing convenience, and pharmaceutical services throughout our industry-leading brands. We have over 5,700 R&D scientists and engineers collaborating on the best solutions possible for our customers. And we are committed to advancing science and staying ahead of innovation by investing approximately $1 billion into R&D. And with revenues of over 35 billion, we rank within the Fortune 100 and currently are sitting at 95. And with our growing portfolio mix, our customers are doing incredibly important things for society, whether they're trying to cure cancer, get an accurate diagnosis for a patient, or ensure that the air we breathe or the food we eat is safe. They all rely on us and our technologies to achieve these objectives. Thermo Fisher Scientific also continues to be at the forefront of the global response to COVID-19, enabling research of the virus, diagnosis of infection, providing essential lab and personal protection equipment, and supporting development and production of new treatments and vaccines. All right, so we are very fortunate to have 3 amazing panelists with us here today. If you'll go on to the next slide. We have Supplier Diversity Manager Gladamar Parzial, Senior Software Engineer Fernando Farfan, and Financial Analyst Natalia Rosado. And at this time, Gladamar, Fernando, and Natalia, I'd love it if you could just please share a few details about yourself that you would like our students to know before we go ahead and dig into our Q&A.
Morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here to listen to me speak. I don't know why, but I just want to share a little bit about me. I am originally from Puerto Rico. I was born and bred in the island. Actually attended my undergrad is from La Universidad del Sagrado Corazón. And I undergrad in advertising, which has nothing to do with what I did today, but it does help me. I've been living in Massachusetts for 26 years. So I guess I'm Puerto Rican and Massachusetts. I hope my advice and my experience can serve to help you develop your own.
Great, thank you, Gladamar. Fernando, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for attending. My name is Fernando Farfan. I am originally from Guatemala, where I graduated. I got my bachelor's in computer science there from la Universidad del Valle de Guatemala. And then I moved to Miami, to Florida, to get my master's and PhD from Florida International University, FIU. I got my master's sponsored by a Fulbright scholarship, which is a very prestigious grant that I was lucky to get. And that's how my trip into the US started a while ago. I see that there's another Guatemalan in the chat, so yay. So for the past 5 years, I've been working for Thermo Fisher Scientific as an engineer. And you could have seen, maybe you noticed in a couple of slides ago, that there was a little box mentioning all the divisions that we have. One of them is the life sciences division, and the top left box was for clinical oncology. That's where I work on. So I develop software that helps the oncologists and pathologists take the results of the DNA sequencers. That was the instrument in that little box. And we analyze that data and combine it with other sources of information to provide what is called personalized oncology. So we try to map the specific mutation that the patient has with the actual treatments that are available for that mutation, right? So instead of just sending out the patient to a blanket chemotherapy treatment, we can target we can provide or suggest the most targeted therapy.
Perfect, thank you. And Natalia, if you'd like to go next.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Natalia Rosado. Welcome to this conference. I hope you like it and you enjoy it. I'm from Costa Rica. I did all my studies in Costa Rica. My undergraduate degree is from Universidad Libre de Costa Rica. And right now I am doing my master's degree in business administration, still in Costa Rica, but online. And I started in Thermo Fisher 4 years ago. I started as accountant in the shared service center in Costa Rica. After 2 years working in the shared service center, I've been transferred to the factory in Asheville. So in this factory, we build all the refrigerators right now, the ones that are being used for Pfizer and Moderna for the vaccines. So really good for us. And also, recently in the last 2 or 3 months, I started working in the finance team, in the financial commerce for chromatography and mass spectrometry division.
Okay, thank you. And Natalia, we're just going to keep going with you and digging into our first question. So we like to hear is first, what has helped you get to where you are in your career? And what advice would you have for someone who wants to pursue a similar professional trajectory?
Well, number one, I think the education and continuous learning all the time, and the labor market, and learning all the new tools and all the new stuff that you need to continue growing in your career. And also dedication of what I am doing in finding ourselves in the work, and developing all the skills that is gonna make you, all the skills that make you better and stand out. But that goes with the hand with looking other professionals inside your organization, even outside of the organizations, with more experience than me, and following the best practices, listening those who already are in the place that I want to be. I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. And this next one's for Gladamar. So what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting out in their career and doesn't have a particular focus on one industry?
This question is actually perfect for me because I have traversed several different industries. And so as I mentioned, I undergrad in advertising. I hated advertising by the end of my 5-year degree, right? 4-year degree. And so I needed kind of to decide what exactly I wanted to do when I grow up. And it was a process, I have to say. So when I moved, unfortunately in Puerto Rico, I was underemployed. So I moved to Massachusetts, and my first job was in the financial service. I started doing managing teams and customer service. I grew within the organization. My advice is like, learn about the different industries, but also, like Natalia mentioned, put yourself out there with different programs, more education. I went through their leadership development program. They then pay for my master's degree in management, and look for companies that invest in you. And I found that in John Hancock in financial services. And then I worked for another organization. I just kind of lost interest in the whole industry. And that was a moment that I really needed to make a decision because I wasn't young after school student. I already had a kid. I needed to really see what are the things that make me happy? And there was a position available for supplier diversity director for the state of Massachusetts, deputy director at the time for the state of Massachusetts. And I really didn't know much about supplier diversity, but I really knew that I had a passion for small business and local community. I've always been involved. My parents, my father was a surveyor, so he had his own business, the same with my brother. So I really saw that was important, and my values were aligned with the program. So I took the job, not knowing much, but understanding policy, understanding process improvement, since I had a lot of experience in operation management. So PPI was a big deal when you're managing operation. And I found I fell in love with my new career. And back then it was mostly government, not a lot of private sector had supplier diversity. So after I worked for the state of Massachusetts, we did a really wonderful job. We increased the spending for over 60% by just making changes in the policy and understanding the needs of the stakeholders. Then I moved to Harvard University, and I saw someone just graduated from Harvard. I worked there for 4.5 years. Academia is I understand the different industries. Academia is a very hard place to work. I'm not discouraging you, but just go with your eyes wide open. You know what I mean? And I wasn't. I wasn't. And then I had the opportunity to become the supplier diversity manager for Thermo Scientific. And I said to you today, one of the best decisions I've made around my career is to come to work with Thermo Fisher. So in short, you may not know much about an industry, because coming to this industry, I knew nothing about it. I knew Thermo Fisher because I work in Harvard and in the state, and there were contractors with us. So I knew what they did. I had no idea what we do, really. It's just, we do way beyond lab supplies, and that was my understanding at the time. So I would always say, align your values with the industry that you're in. And for me, supplier diversity, my colleagues are across all industries, and which has expanded my opportunities, and go to a place that they believe in you and they give you the support to perform and to be successful.
Thank you for sharing that trajectory, Gladamar. I mean, the one thing that really resonated to me is not only making sure your values are aligned, right, with the purpose and mission of the organization, but also returning to an organization, or going into an organization, I should say, that invests in its people. And I feel like, having done a couple of rounds of internships with the company, that's what kept me coming back to wanting to be working in talent acquisition full time. Just seeing that, again, value alignment and that direct investment back into the company, which I know we'll talk about this later, but I feel like is very palpable among our employee resource groups that we have. So this next question is for Fernando. And what inspires you in your career path? And how does Thermo Fisher give you the opportunity to live out your passion on the day-to-day?
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. That's a great question. For me, it's about helping people, helping lives. Even from my side of the software development world, I felt early in my career that there had to be more than just building software for the sake of building software, or for the sake of just making myself or someone else rich. And there has to, this has the potential to change and improve lives, right? Back in Guatemala, my Guatemalan fellows in the audience maybe know of Ban Rural, which is the Banco de Desarrollo Rural. So it's a very special bank that covers most of Guatemala, but it has a very social, or it's supposed to have a very social impact in the lives of the people in Guatemala, mainly agricultural workers, right? Back in the day, one of my early projects at the bank was to develop a system to implement fingerprint reading for customers. That allowed all the people in Guatemala that didn't know how to learn, read or write, to have access to the banking system, right? So that's where this spark started for me to say, oh, okay, so we can use technology not only for luxury, not only for selling or buying things, but for something more, right? And of course, Thermo Fisher is the perfect vehicle to do that, right? Right now, as I mentioned, I'm working on the oncology informatics group here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Our solutions take are part of this pipeline of what we call from sample to answer, right? Sample being the cancer sample, the sample that we take from a patient which is suffering from cancer, that is going to be DNA sequenced, analyzed a couple of times, trying to search for the variants that are causing this cancer. And then we are the last piece in the puzzle that connect those mutations, those cancer aberrations in the patients with the therapies that are out there, right? So as I said minutes ago, it's not about just these super invasive and overwhelming chemotherapy treatments that are just like a blanket treatment, right? So we try to go and really target the mutation, the specific mutation, or the specific aberration that is causing this patient to suffer a cancer, right? So there are a few things that are less impactful than that, right? So and Thermo Fisher enables me to do that in a very intense way, as we say with our values, right? We are all focused on the patient every day, and it's inspiring when you come and see your colleagues pushing for a solution because they know that this could help someone that is suffering from cancer. And the reality is we have all suffered from a relative or ourselves being exposed to cancer, right? So it's personal, right? My manager had a cancer treatment 2 years ago. It's personal for us as a group, as a site, right? So Thermo Fisher has put everything for us to keep working for this, to keep working for these patients, right? And to hopefully one day say, yeah, we did it. We beat cancer, right?
I feel like having such meaning in the work that we do day to day, regardless of what the function is, has just really enhanced our culture to be so collaborative, like on a global level. So thank you for speaking to that and how it's resonating with you personally. This next question is for Natalia. So as a former intern myself, I'm kind of curious with this as well. Many people who found success in the workplace cite that they usually had someone encourage them and coach them along the way. Did you have any mentors, or are you currently mentoring anyone? And what has that experience been like?
Yes, I am not mentoring anyone specifically right now, but I had too many mentors through my career. Some of them indirectly inspire me in the way that they work their achievements and how they achieve them. And others mentor who advise me personally in both sides, outside and inside of the company. I think the most difficult thing about mentoring someone or looking for a mentor is to find someone who's matching your personality and your values. But something that Thermo Fisher really help us is the main values of the company. If you have the main values of the company, you know that any of the leaders in the company can help you to mentoring you. So that's what really add value to all the advices that they can give you, how to achieve your goals and how to idealize your goals in the correct time and the correct order. Because you can think, okay, so this is my next step. My next step is being a manager. That's what I want in my career. Well, yes, but they can really help you to achieve that goal in the right way, not just been doing the work that you're doing, more than, okay, let's go to improve this, let's go to innovate this, let's go to do this kind of thing that's it's gonna really launch your career to the next step. And as I said, my mentors have been really inspiring me, and I learned a lot of things from them, and no regrets about any of them, and continue working on it. I think the best thing that they can give you is open your mind to more opportunities.
Great, thank you. And staying with Natalia, I'd also love to hear about what has your experience been, or your career experience been, as a person of Latino Hispanic heritage, and Have you found it challenging, but maybe also advantageous at times?
It's been really challenging. I think every day is a different challenge. The first one was when I first came to the United States. I thought, okay, I speak perfect English. Then I came here and it was so exhausted to be translating in my mind every single word that I was listening. And I just ended it completely tired, more than my job in that moment. It was like all that my brain was doing at the same time. That was a challenge for me. And still, sometimes I struggle with my accent. So I think that that's really challenging. And also, well, cultural differences. You know, you're when you're from a different country, the cultural shock, it's huge. But if you're happy with the people who's around you, and if you're happy with the work that you're doing, and the company give you all the tools, and the company really it's worried about you as a person, that really help you to continue growing in the organization, to feel that you really are an important part of the organization.
Wonderful, thank you. So shifting to Gladamar, what would you say is a unique contribution that those of Latino and Hispanic heritage bring to Thermo Fisher?
That's a great question. And it is because when you look at the Hispanic community, we're all very diverse within the diversity category, right? So I'll say Fernando's and Natalia's experience is totally different than my experience, including your ancestry. You know, you have the people from Argentina, maybe from different part, than the people from Peru, then you know what I mean? So as it is, we're not only diverse, but within us, we are extremely diverse. And what it does for an organization is just gives you like whole different kind of experience that can only enrich your teams. I find that, you know, to think that Natalia is the same kind of Hispanic as Gladamar, it's something that we need to kind of start breaking out for people that are not part of the community. And I think if we don't talk about it, we do a disservice to any organization. Like I said, our experiences are totally different. When I moved to Massachusetts, it was just a move, you know, while other people will have to immigrate following the immigration process, which is very different than my experience. So I learn from my other peers that come from different countries to understand what was their hardship and how did they go through it. And for me, it's fascinating. And I'm Hispanic, you know what I mean? It's like, for me, I'm always learning. And I think that is what is happening. That's why it's so important to bring Latinas to Thermo Fisher. And I love it that we have ERGs and that we're really coming together to this. And let me tell you, to be honest, half of my ERG are non-Hispanic, which makes it super cool because we're teaching each other our ways and embracing the understanding of our culture within the organization. I love that the IDD, which is one of our divisions, did a whole presentation on understanding Hispanic people. You know, we're very warm. We tend to be more of a hugger. You know what I mean? We always kiss to say hi. And it was really a good way to present ourselves, like, don't be offended if we do this. This is just how we were raised. We're ingrained. So I absolutely love that about this organization. And I say the more the merrier, to be honest. I think, you know, we're becoming a very strong part of the organization. And our ERG is growing tremendously, which makes me feel really, really good.
Yes, I mean, having freshly joined as, you know, the co-lead for our Carlsbad chapter, I'm really excited for all the work that we've done and are looking to do for the following year as well. So just having, you know, more opinions vocalized, getting more involvement, looking to work cross-collaboratively across our ERG spectrum is really exciting for me. So I can just imagine for you all who've been in much longer than I have. Going forward, so for Fernando, What does diversity and inclusion mean to you, and why do you think it's important in the workplace?
To me, it means bringing my own experiences, my own values, my points of view, my worldview, and bringing it to those of others that are probably heterogeneous to mine, right? Respectfully, appropriately, without any imposition, but also without being taken aback by barriers, right? It's about sharing, and it's about making sure that our voice, our experience is also heard, right? We are intense, as Gladys said. We are intense. We hug a lot, we kiss a lot, but we also work hard. We are passionate, and we like spicy food and salsa and merengue, and we bring that in our work ethic as well, right? That passion, that energy is also there when we are working on software or on finance or whatever it is that we work on, right? And I think that's also important. That has to be what we bring to the table. Unfortunately, Thermo Fisher allows us to do that. It's probably easy, quote unquote, when you're in STEM, right, in science, technology, because there are people from all over the world by default, right? So people they are also immigrants. They are also looking forward to make those connections away from home, maybe, right? So, but it is also easy when our company enables it, right, and makes it, of course, welcomed.
Thank you for that. Going back to Gladamar, with the idea of what you were talking about for like championing diversity and inclusion, being an advocate, what successful initiatives or best practices do you think Thermo Fisher has identified and implemented to address diversity and inclusion?
Again, another question that should have been directed to me, because I am the supplier diversity manager, and before I came on board, we didn't have a formal FTE, full-time equivalent, doing supplier diversity for the organization. So let's start with that. That was a great idea, not because they hired me, it's because they realized it is important to look at diversity and inclusion in a more holistic way. Not only the workforce of the communities we serve, but also the suppliers we engaged with. So let's start with that policy. Hire a manager to do supplier diversity. But furthermore, is the fact that I being supported by our VP of Global Procurement and our policies that we've created for the supply chain. We have to include a diverse supplier in all of our bid process, at least when it's appropriate. Of course, there's things that we cannot look at that way, but for the most part, or we don't have diverse suppliers to participate. But for the most part, that's the policy. But the fact that that policy and the push for supplier diversity is one of our top 3 goals for my organization in the global procurement. I mean, that has to be one of the strongest messages we've sent around supply chain and procurement. I participate in not only the ERG, I'm heavily engaged with D&I, Jennifer Farmer, our Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. That's another thing that I think we're getting it right. The fact that we're not looking at silos in diversity, we're working together, talking to each other to understand what is your initiative. This is my initiative. Understand how we can amplify that voice of diversity across the organization. So those are several things that I think we have nailed it. We have done a good job. We're following the best practice around diversity. And I'm really proud to be part of that change. And we will continue. We will continue making these a world-class supplier diversity program. Hopefully one day we'll be part of the $1 billion, we're actually close, $1 billion roundtable, which is very, in the supplier diversity, that's kind of like a difficult club to get in. So overall, I think we just are going into the right direction around supply diversity, but also about D&I as a whole.
Thank you. Yes, and we are very, very close to that esteemed mark. So this is something I'd like to ask everyone on the panel today. and it's regarding our Latino Hispanic Heritage ERG. So I'd love to start with Natalia. How has being a member of the Latino Hispanic Heritage ERG enhanced your career experience and sense of belonging while working at Thermo Fisher?
It's exactly that. It's like feeling that you're part of the organization, that they really are looking for you, that you can feel like it's so when you're an immigrant, you really need to build your own family here, and you spend a lot of hours a job and sharing your time with a bunch of people. So it's that the organization is really concerned that you feel that you can be part of this, and that was for me, that was really touchful. It was exactly that I was looking for. It was like connect with other people who are interested in the Latino heritages, and also between the Latinos in the organization. Okay, this is the family that you have in the org, so just enjoy it. So it was really touchful for me, especially because I came by myself, and I found that a really wonderful family here.
Thank you. Fernando, how has your career experience and sense of belonging been while working at Thermo Fisher and being part of the Latino Hispanic Heritage ERG?
Yeah, I think the keyword there is belonging, right? As Natalia was saying, this allows us, it's another vehicle to help us belong to the larger organization, to the larger Thermo Fisher, but at the same time, to go back to our roots, right? And to be closer to our people. In my case, for example, our site here in Ann Arbor is very small. It's only 25 of us, and I'm the only Hispanic. So I cannot have like a chapter of the Latino Hispanic group here in Ann Arbor because it's a one-man band, right?
Mm-hmm.
But having this connection and getting to know all the other members in our ERG has been extremely beneficial.
Yeah, I think, as we continue to host events, for everyone on the call today, we recently had an event with Ellen Ochoa, so astronaut with NASA, and the more visibility I feel like we get with global speaker series that we have with our ERG, different levels of career development and education that we're doing on a global level, I feel like there's a lot of people who are starting to, whether they are of Latino, Hispanic heritage or not, wanting to create chapters in their respective locations, which is really exciting. So I feel like even in Ann Arbor, due to the visibility that we're having, that more and more people are wanting to get interested in how they can, be an ally and support us in different ways. Going back to Gladamar, what has been your experience like, and how has your sense of belonging been enhanced while being part of the Latino Hispanic Heritage ERG?
It's like a family, when I first started working here, I realized, this is a global organization. So it's the first time that John Hancock was pretty international, but this is truly a global organization, and it's huge, it's massive. And I'm like, how am I going to communicate? Who are the stakeholders? So I actually signed up for the Women ERG first, and then I was asked to lead the Greater Boston Latino Heritage, which I accepted without knowing what I was supposed to do, but I say, I'll figure it out, right? One of the greatest benefits I found of becoming part of not only the ERG, the Community Action Council, there's so many different groups that I've been part of, and my network have expanded in a way, such a short period of time, in a way a lot of people cannot even comprehend. I'm in a room one time and say, oh, this person say hi to me. Is that, you don't know that person? How did you know? I met it through the ERG. And, they're on the other side of the United States. And that person said to me, the other person said to me, you know everybody. I'm like, because I'm involved in everything. And I get it to a point that actually some of those connections have helped me professionally move things forward. Either I feel comfortable enough to go into someone and ask them, do you know someone that can do this, that? And it's just my life. I encourage anyone that gets into a new organization to look for those opportunities to engage, whether it's an ERG or Community Action Council or anything to that effect, or all of the above. You can always manage your workload. I always say, it's just a matter that think about it, that you're spending time to get involved and meet more people. And I'm going to say something to what Fernando said, because I remember meeting at the time the VP of the diversity and inclusion and having a conversation about the ERGs. And he said this, and I'm sure some other people have said it before, but it just stuck to me because that was the philosophy of this company. Diversity is when you're invited to a party. Inclusion is when you're invited to dance, and belonging is they're playing my playlist. I heard this from this person, like I want to say within a month of starting this company, working here in Thermo Fisher. And I'm telling you, that cemented my decision that I'm in the right place. I've never felt like for being Hispanic, I'm not given the opportunities. I have access to vice presidents, to presidents of different divisions, and I'm respected. And my what I bring to the table is all the care. Obviously, my experience comes with it. So, yep, the ERG has given me a lot of advantage, but also it makes me part of something really, really cool.
Right. And thank you so much for sharing that analogy. I'm gonna have to borrow that, especially with they're playing my playlist, because I feel like I often say when I speak to different people across the organization, especially in the ERG space, that working in talent acquisition for me, it's pretty much like a second family. I know a lot of people within the function, and it gets to that point where, yeah, most often it feels like when we share our highs and lows together, because there's always ebbs and flows regardless of what function you're in. You're always listening to the same song, so it's kind of like that playing my playlist effect. So moving forward with Fernando, what Latino Hispanic heritage activities or resources have you benefited from the most that Thermo Fisher has had to offer you?
Thanks, Gabriel. So, well, you just mentioned the talk that we had last week or 2 weeks ago from Ellen Ochoa, our first Hispanic female astronaut. That was mind-blowing, right? To hear from someone from our heritage that went to space 4 times, that was just, it's super inspiring. And very similarly, last year we had a similar talk from Juan Enriquez. He is a renowned technologist affiliated with Harvard Business School, with MIT, best-selling author, has a bunch of TED Talks, and he's from Mexico, right? So it's as Gladys was saying, having that exposure and having that sense that we can do it, right? We can get there. We can have those. We can hold those positions. We can have an impact. That's really important to us, right? Mm-hmm. And in probably not as inspiring as that, but very, very effective. Last year, I won a little mocha coffee pot from the Latino Hispanic ERG. So now my tradition every Thursday is to have my cafecitos in honor of all us Latinos. So those are the 2 main things for me.
Nice. I love that, having just a little cafecito break.
Yes.
Which ties in wonderfully to the cafecito break that we're doing, and just like getting to know different colleagues within our ERG, seeing what's important to them, seeing what their journey has been, just having those colleague testimonials. The first one with Crystal, which is great to really dig into, again, what their experiences have been as a Latinx colleague. So going back to the idea of allyship for those who are not of Latino Hispanic heritage, Natalia, what advice would you give to someone who may not be part of our heritage, but would like to get involved in the ERG as an ally?
Well, as Gladamar says, we are a really diverse organization. So that's something that it's every day in Thermo Fisher employees' minds. Diversity and inclusion and belonging, as Gladamar says. So don't be afraid to approach an ERG. Whatever it is, the ERG. I'm part of the Women's ERG. I am part of the African Heritage ERG, and now Latino Hispanic Heritage. It's just the opportunity to learn about other cultures, about other people, also to unbias. And I think the best thing about the ERGs is the mix of cultures, opinions, that you can share ideas and with respect. Everybody is going to respect whatever you says. And for sure, you're gonna set whatever in the right way. But also close, stay really, really close with other people so for the women's ERG, we have this high tea, which is like a cafecito every single month. And we share about recipes. We share about different cultures. So we share about, the last day was about how to preserve our knives in the kitchen. So it's just the way that you interact with different people around the country and around the ERDs. And for women's ERD, it doesn't have to be women to be part of the team. We have a bunch of guys who really share. Actually, that was the idea about the how to preserve the knives. And it's just try to be part of the organization, just try to be part of something else more than your job. And as Gladamar says, you're gonna do completely fine with your workload. It's like try to be part of something else that involves you more and as a company and as people, not just work. It's more like be people, whatever the ERG that you want to join.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Just the work I've done across like 4 different ERGs, I feel like, especially when you have early talent coming in, whether it's an intern or someone who's part of our leadership development programs or a direct hire, really digging into our company from a cultural perspective really ends up kind of like iron sharpening iron, to borrow that analogy, of it really hones your development as a leader. And, I'm part of the philosophy, and I feel like our company is as well, as you don't necessarily need to be in an explicit leadership role to operate and have the mindset of a leader. And I feel like having the opportunity to interact with our different colleagues across our ERG spectrum really refines those people who are coming in as early talent to be our next gen leaders, and just really take off their trajectory with the company. And with that, I will go ahead and open it up to student questions. We can start answering questions live. We have Ashley Eng with us today, who is a senior manager within talent acquisition. And then we could go ahead and just start digging in.
Gabrielle, a lot of the questions are centered around what types of roles can apply, what open roles we have. So if you can give a high level over what types of internship roles we have and which levels and schools we accept.
Okay, I'm sorry, you were coming in a little bit out, but what I heard is about talking about the internship opportunities available and just any opportunities in general, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So right now we have quite a few open roles that we are looking to fill. And so it could be internships anywhere across the spectrum. For example, I myself am recruiting for engineering, procurement, operations, sales, and marketing. And we also have other opportunities like in IT and human resources, but it's all across our functional spectrum. And you can go ahead and take a look at the internships we have available that run between approximately May 16th for about 10 or 12 weeks up until around August 26th. That's how our internships typically run during the summer. And then we also have, for those of you who are looking to graduate in May 2022, or even as early as this December 2021, we have our rotational leadership development programs, which are structured to be as 2-year rotations. So every 6 months, you're working on something new at a different site. So you will travel to approximately 4 different sites across those 2 years if we're transitioning into another full-time opportunity. And those you can find in our careers website. So if you go to the website, scroll down, there should be an area that says early talent and students, and then it'll show you all the open roles that we have available and speak to each leadership development program as well. So we have, I think, about 7 or 8 right now, which again could be in product engineering, operations, finance, IT, HR, data science, to name a few. So if you'd go ahead and take a look at those will really help you align as to seeing what you'd like to do, either as an intern or as a full-time employee in the leadership development program, or even as a direct hire, just straight out of school.
Thank you. is about the interview process. What can we do to stand out if we have zero experience? Someone who just graduated, who's never attained an internship or a co-op. What advice would you give to them?
Sure. And this is something that, as I've been going to a lot of careers fair lately and talking to students live, has been what I think is very central, not only to what I would coach someone on, but has been central to my experience as well, like trying to stand out as an intern and then later as a direct hire, which has been, I'm of the philosophy that if you maybe don't fill the criteria, like the candidate criteria of having all the hard skills or soft skills that they're looking for, the most pivotal thing to me is really being able, going back to that leadership mindset of being able to speak to yourself as a leader and really doing the research in terms of how you can integrate into the company culture. So whether it's our 4 I values and being able to speak to those as to, you know, what I value is a natural strength of yours. For example, you could say you're very strong in innovation, but you're looking to develop in intensity, for example. And we just had a week of belonging a couple weeks ago where we were talking about our respective ERGs, diversity and inclusion, how to have a greater sense of belonging at work and more meaning in your work on the day-to-day. And while we can't be masters of all our 4 I values, it's a big ask. We definitely talk about how you should try to be master of one while being mindful of different opportunities for growth across the spectrum of our values. And so I think with candidates, if they're able to really speak to you know, their different leadership style, what has been important to them, how they see themselves integrating into the company long-term from a cultural perspective, because again, like I mentioned, we're really looking to you as our next gen leaders. So whether you're coming in as an intern, we're not looking for a one and done transactional opportunity. We're looking to you guys for the long haul. So coming back either as a repeat intern, joining one of our leadership development programs, or coming back as a direct hire, you know, we want to have that consistent experience and really nurturing our talent.
The next question is for Fernando. What seems to be the thing for most candidates when applying for STEM positions in experience of it that you've interviewed?
I'm not sure I understood the question, but I'm going over the ones in the list. I think it was like what's lacking from STEM engineering.
Yeah, apologize for internet.
Okay.
But yeah, what seems to be missing for most candidates who have applied for positions in your experience?
I would say that's an interesting question. I think 2 things that I would say are valued and that not every candidate has, and that could be what we use to decide for one candidate, is the ability to be flexible and the eagerness to learn. Because for example, specifically in software, in computer engineering, computer science, it's not just about copying a little piece of code from the internet and making it your project, right? It's those work, those help, and we all do it, even at the highest level of software development. But it's the ability to really digest those little snippets, or it's the ability to say, okay, let's learn what's going on here. What's the environment? What's around me? And having the ability to really connect with the ideas and with the abstraction. I think that's one thing that would make a candidate stand out, right? The ability to learn, the ability to be flexible, and not just to say, no, this is the way that I learned it in school. Well, this applies to school, not to industry, maybe, right? So those things I would say would be what puts a candidate up front.
Question can be for anyone on the panel, but the question is, did you match your description when you applied? If you didn't, were there skills you had to pick up? And second part of it, if you were missing a skill qualification for the job, how did you overcome that during the job interview?
Can I answer that question? Because I didn't have to match my skills because the job description was what I do, right? So in the supply diversity field, there's not many of us overwhelmingly out there. But with that said, when I first got hired for the supplier diversity deputy director, I was an operation manager for over 10 years. So what I looked at it, so I was not going to match a lot of the things. So what I matched were my transferable skills, right? What are the things that I do in my current job that will apply to that job? And make that kind of connection. And the fact that I had a background in communication, in managing people itself and operations, I was able to kind of say, okay, I can do this because these are all these skills that I have proven to have that are transferable to that job. And I got the job. So that's how I look at it. You don't have to be a perfect match, but you need to look at the skills that you already have proven to have that match those skills, right? So that's my advice for you, my advice that I gave my daughter, and it worked out for her. So perhaps.
I would add also to, again, being willing to learn and also being transparent, right? I mean, if you don't know something, I would be more comfortable with you coming and saying, hey, can you teach me about that? Than just pretending that you know about it and then just to flop in the task because you actually don't know it, right? So I think that sincerity, that honesty has helped me out in the past, right? I mean, I'm here to learn, even at this stage. I'm here to learn. I'm happy to make mistakes. I'm not scared by my mistakes, but because I know that those are the ones that are gonna make me better and give me teaching opportunities, learning opportunities. So yeah, let's make mistakes together, just under a controlled environment, please. Yeah, let's learn and let's ask for help too. That's also important, right? Don't be there just quiet in a corner when you don't know things. Let's ask.
Fantastic. I think the remainder of the questions are really sort of level in school, which is to reiterate what Gabrielle mentioned, offer internships for undergraduate, master's, and PhD students, as well as full-time roles for any potential full-time interest on the call. With that, I will turn it to Gabrielle.
Sure. So I want to start by thanking our panelists for sharing your career journeys, how you've been able to live out your passions collaborating with Thermo Fisher Scientific, and how the Latino Hispanic heritage has enhanced your career development and sense of belonging. And I also want to thank all of our students here today. We greatly appreciate your interest in Thermo Fisher Scientific. And as we previously mentioned, please be sure to check out our career site for our latest job postings for internships, co-ops, rotational leadership development programs. With a quick call out to, yes, we do have opportunities for graduate students also in a graduate leadership development program. So whether it's you're graduating with an MBA, something in HR, something in IT, et cetera, there are opportunities for that rotational experience. But also be sure to check out direct hire opportunities as well. So with that, also big thank you to Way Up, and have a great rest of the week, everyone.